In 1994, a 16-year-old girl set out on a road trip to visit family, but she never made it. Her car was found burned in a field, her belongings left behind, but Jody Lynn Brandt was gone. Jody Lynn Brandt was a smart, independent 16-year-old from Lawrenceville, Georgia. She worked a fast food job and had recently bought her own car, a black 1987 Ford Escort. On May 27, 1994, she told her family she was heading to Pontiac, Michigan to visit her cousin. It was a trip she had made before. She packed her things and hit the road alone. But somewhere along the 800-mile journey, something went terribly wrong. On May 28, around 10 a.m., Jody called her cousin. She said she was lost near Erie, possibly Erie, Michigan, or Ohio, and had gotten off Interstate 75. She didn't seem panicked, but she clearly wasn't where she was supposed to be. Later that day, around 6 p.m., a friend received a voicemail from Jody saying she had made it safely to Pontiac. But police believe that call may not have been what it seemed. Early the next morning, May 29th, Jody's Ford Escort was found abandoned and on fire in a remote area near Ottawa Lake, Michigan, just off U.S. Highway 23. Fire investigators determined the fire was intentionally set sometime after 10 p.m. the night before. The keys were still in the ignition. Her luggage was untouched in the trunk. The driver's seat was pushed back, farther than someone of Jody's height would need, and a fresh dent on the rear bumper suggested she may have been hit from behind. From the moment the car was discovered, investigators suspected foul play. But despite searches, interviews, and the involvement of state police and the FBI, no trace of Jody was ever found. There were rumors that she may have been involved in transporting marijuana between Georgia and Michigan weeks earlier, but authorities found no direct connection between that and her disappearance. Jody's family has never given up hope. They offered a $25,000 reward for information. For decades, they've waited, desperate for answers. But the case has gone cold. No arrests, no solid leads, and for 31 years, Jody has never been found. She was 14 years old, a cheerleader, an artist, a daughter. On the night of a neighborhood party, she walked out the door and was never seen again. Danielle Ariane Bell, or Danny as friends called her, was a bright and energetic teenager from Cantonment, Florida, just outside Pensacola. She was a freshman at Tate High School, loved art, and was known for her warm smile and outgoing nature. But everything changed on the night of September 30th, 2001. That night, Danielle attended a house party on Cedar Tree Lane, just a few blocks from her home. It was supposed to be a typical hangout with friends. But witnesses say she left the party with a man in his mid-20s. That man was later identified as Robert Louis Bassett Jr. He was questioned by police, but never charged. And sadly, Danielle never came home. When her family realized she was missing, panic set in. Local law enforcement and eventually the FBI got involved. They interviewed witnesses, searched nearby woods, and even brought in cadaver dogs. In 2010, almost a decade later, they pumped a septic tank behind a suspect's property, but came up empty. In 2012, human remains were discovered in the area. Hope surged, only to be crushed when DNA confirmed the bones were not Danielle's. Then, disturbing rumors began to surface. Before she vanished, Danielle had reportedly been in a secret relationship with a 24-year-old man named Alfredo Sanchez Jr., a man already convicted on unrelated child sex crimes. Friends say Danielle may have believed she was pregnant and that Sanchez had threatened her. Rumors spread that Danielle had been murdered, her body dismembered and dumped at a hog pen. But despite years of whispers, no physical evidence has ever been found. Danielle Bell has been missing for over 20 years. Someone knows what happened. If you have any information, no matter how small, please contact the Escambia County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers. Kyron Horman was born on September 9, 2002, in Portland, Oregon. He lived with his father Kane, mother Desiree Young, and later his stepmother, Terry Horman, now known as Terry Vasquez. Kyron was a curious young boy who loved school and science. Terry dropped Kyron off at Skyline Elementary School, where he attended a science fair. She was last seen walking him into the school around 8:45 a.m., then left, believing Kayelyn had headed to class. Later, at 3:30 p.m., Terry and Kane walked their daughter to the bus stop, but Kayelyn never got on his school bus. School officials confirmed he hadn't attended class and had been marked absent. Authorities were called immediately. Oregon's largest missing person search ensued, with over 1,300 volunteers joining law enforcement and federal agencies. Hundreds of tips came in, and a reward increased from $25,000 to $50,000. Despite exhaustive searches, through families' vehicles, neighborhoods, Sauvie Island, no trace of Kayelyn was ever found. Stepmother Terry emerged as a person of interest. She failed 2 polygraph tests and refused a third. She was also accused of offering money to hire someone to kill her husband, an allegation Terry denied. No criminal charges have ever been filed against her. Kayelyn's mother even filed a $10 million civil lawsuit against Terry, but dropped it to avoid interfering with the ongoing investigation. As of today, Kayelyn has never been found, no charges have been filed, and for 15 years, this case remains unsolved. He was a hardworking 25-year-old father, and on October 1, 2022, he texted his mother stating, "3 truckloads of white men are trying to kill me." A month later, his body was found mutilated in a Mississippi woods. Rasheem Carter was last seen on October 2, 2022, outside a Super 8 motel in Laurel, Mississippi, while working a contracting job in nearby Taylorsville. On October 1st, Rasheem texted his mother warning that white men in 3 trucks were after him and that his employer might be responsible if something happened. He visited the Taylorsville Police Department, at least twice asking for help or a ride, but according to the family, was refused both times. On November 2, 2022, his remains were discovered in a wooded area near Taylorsville, about 20 miles from the motel where he was last seen. He was caught on a deer camera, walking through the area and carrying a large stick. The remains were scattered over roughly 2 acres, including his skull, spinal cord, partial bones, and teeth fragments. The Mississippi medical examiner could not determine a cause or manner of death due to the advanced decomposition. Animal activity had significantly disturbed the remains. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, representing the family, stated Rasheem had been decapitated, with dismembered parts found at separate locations, calling it a disgrace and demanding a DOJ investigation. Initially, the Smith County Sheriff's Office said they found no evidence of foul play, though later clarified the case remains open. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation joined in, collecting tips and following leads, but as of now, no suspects or arrests have been made. Rasheem's family and supporters held protests in 2023 across Taylorsville demanding accountability and recognition of a possible racially motivated killing. The family suggests their son was lynched. Rasheem was a father, a provider, a human being treated as expendable. His disappearance demands truth and accountability. As of today, this case remains unsolved. Mitchell Dang was a 25-year-old woman from Norcross, Georgia. She loved dancing, creating YouTube content, and spending time with friends and family. The night she vanished, she shared a light-hearted video, telling viewers she was heading out to dance her heart out. But behind that joyful post was her final night alive. That evening, Mitchell went to Alley Cat Atlanta, a popular club in the city's underground district. She was seen alone, and surveillance footage later showed her leaving the venue, disoriented and vulnerable. It's here that a stranger, Jakevius Arnold, approached her. Arnold appeared to offer help, but investigators say his intentions were anything but kind. According to police reports, he led Mitchell into a nearby parking garage. There, under a stairwell, he allegedly choked her until she lost consciousness, sexually assaulted her, and ultimately took her life. Prosecutors say he even violated her body after death. On August 30th, Mitchell's nude body was found under a stairwell near the Fulton County Justice Center. Her phone ID and wallet were missing. Surveillance footage, MARTA transit records, and GPS helped police track down Arnold. He was arrested on September 22nd and remains in jail without bond. He then tried to cover her body with newspapers and left the scene, later using her debit card to make purchases. The charges filed against Jakevius Arnold were murder, kidnapping, aggravated sexual battery, necrophilia, robbery, and false imprisonment. He is currently awaiting his trial. Mitchell's family has been devastated by the loss. Her sister described her as kind, creative, and always full of energy. In accordance with Buddhist tradition, the family set up a shrine for her, observing 49 days of mourning. They're now fighting for justice and trying to make sure Mitchell's story isn't forgotten. Miya Marcano, just 19 years old, was a vibrant, intelligent student at Valencia College in Orlando, Florida. She lived and worked at the Arden Villas apartments, where she helped in the leasing office. But her dream of traveling home to visit her family that weekend would never come true. That Friday, Miya was supposed to catch a flight home to Fort Lauderdale, but she never made it. After leaving her shift around 5 p.m., she simply vanished. Her family quickly grew concerned when she didn't show up at the airport. They rushed to her apartment, and what they found was chilling. Her bedroom was in disarray, bloodstains were found on her pillow, her window was tampered with, a bench was used to lock her door, and worst of all, she was gone. Authorities identified Armando Caballero, a 27-year-old maintenance worker at the complex, as a person of interest. Caballero had shown unwanted romantic interest in Miya before and had access to her apartment using a master key fob. On the day she disappeared, that fob showed he entered her apartment just minutes before she got off work. He was also caught on camera by Miya's family, walking into his apartment with her blanket.
New video shows a man who appears to match a description of Armando Caballero getting out of a car that matches the description from police of Armando's.
The blanket. Oh my God, that is my blanket.
The man is seen carrying a blanket and a bag heading into a building. The blanket, families say, is Miya's.
For 8 days, the search for Miya continued. Then, on October 2nd, her body was discovered in a wooded area near an abandoned apartment complex, 18 miles away. She had been bound with duct tape, and while the official cause of death was ruled as homicide by undetermined means, there was no doubt Miya had been murdered. By then, Caballero had already taken his own life. Miya's death sparked outrage and heartbreak, not just in Florida, but nationwide. In response, Miya's law was passed in Florida. It requires stronger background checks for maintenance workers, 24-hour notice before entering any unit, and more security for master keys. Her family continues to fight for stricter tenant safety laws and justice for other young women like Miya. Miya Marcano had a bright future ahead of her. She trusted the place she lived, and it failed her. Let her story be a warning and a call to action. Kayelyn Louder was a 30-year-old social worker from Murray, Utah, who was known for her outgoing personality and deep care for others. She held a bachelor's in social work from USU. On September 27, 2014, surveillance video captured Kayelyn walking away from her condo barefoot in the rain, without her dog, phone, keys, or wallet.
Around 5:45 p.m. on September 27th, Kayelyn can be seen taking her dog outside in the rain, barefoot and only wearing a tank top and shorts. Police believe she was acting delusional and having an animated conversation with herself. However, friends and family contest this, saying she was simply talking to her dog, something she did regularly. Then, just 15 minutes later, residents in the apartment complex reported seeing Kayelyn crying in the parking lot and trying to open the apartment gates before suddenly taking off. But surveillance only captures the moment she runs from behind the lot and out of frame, leaving behind her car, keys, phone, money, and abandoning her beloved pet.
In the days before, she made 3 strange 911 calls reporting a fight at a wedding and a break-in, none of which police found to be true. A roommate later told officers she believed Kayelyn had been acting delusional, and some evidence suggests she was confronting threats that weren't present. Police stated Kayelyn appeared agitated and possibly in a mental health crisis before she disappeared, though she had no documented history of psychiatric illness. Online discussions, like on Reddit, highlighted her animated talking to seemingly no one on camera, prompting speculation about a paranoid episode or fugue state. Kayelyn's remains were discovered by maintenance crews under a bridge in the Jordan River, roughly 5 miles from her condo, in a drainage area plugged by weeds and debris. Due to advanced decomposition, identification required dental records. No obvious trauma or injuries were noted. Toxicology reports found no presence of drugs or alcohol. The medical examiner ruled the cause of death undetermined, as water exposure obscured physical evidence. Authorities found no signs of trauma, leading police to conclude no evidence of foul play. Kayelyn's family strongly disagrees, citing how she couldn't have traveled on foot or by a creek to where she was found. They believe her death was not a simple accident and continue seeking further investigation. As of today, this case remains haunting and unsolved. Michelle Mishcon Stevens, who was 53, worked in finance and was deeply loved for her kindness and positivity. John Stevens III, who was 59, owned a lawn care business, was a family man and avid fisherman. Together, they were known in their Jupiter, Florida community as a caring and joyful couple. One evening in August 2016, they sat quietly in their garage, unaware that a young stranger would enter their lives. Austin Harif, then a 19-year-old Florida State University student, left on foot after dinner with his parents, in a state of agitation. Austin had been dealing with mental health issues, leading to bizarre thoughts of him believing he was God, a dog, a healer, and a Buddha. Shortly after leaving, he entered the open garage of the Stevens and randomly attacked them with a knife. Investigators say he began biting John's face and continued until deputies arrived. A neighbor, Jeff Fisher, who rushed to help, was also stabbed but survived. Austin Harif was hospitalized and later assessed for mental illness. A prosecution psychiatrist concluded he was legally insane during the attack, diagnosed with schizophrenia and experiencing hallucinations. In 2022, Harif pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity for the murder of Michelle and John, along with charges related to the assault on the neighbor. He was committed to a secure mental hospital, not sent to prison. Over 500 people attended a memorial service in Fort Lauderdale, honoring the couple as kind and deeply connected to their loved ones. John's children, including son John V and daughter Ivy, urged prosecutors to seek the death penalty, calling Harif a monster, not a mentally ill kid. Michelle and John were taken from this world in an instant, by a stranger whose only motive may have been a fractured mind. The attack was random, brutal, and senseless. His insanity plea may have spared him prison, but not the impact he left on those who loved them. She was preparing to testify against her abusive boyfriend. 5 days before her court date, she vanished without a trace. Aida Calfee was last seen on October 2, 1981, in Dahlonega, Georgia, while in the company of her boyfriend, Jim Pruitt. The two had reportedly canceled a fishing trip they'd planned, and according to Pruitt, Aida became upset, got out of the car near the town square, and refused to get back in. Witnesses later saw her hitchhiking south on Highway 19 and 41, and she was never seen again. Just months earlier, in July 1981, Aida reported that Pruitt had physically assaulted her, beating and choking her and pushing her down a flight of stairs at their apartment in Marietta, Georgia. She told police that the abuse wasn't new. Pruitt had allegedly broken her wrist in the past, but she had been too afraid to report him. She also stated that Pruitt was pressuring her to drop the charges, and her disappearance occurred just 5 days before he was due in court for his arraignment. During his trial for the assault, Jim Pruitt took the stand and admitted to wrapping his tie around Aida's neck during an argument. He claimed it was just to scare her and to get her to stop. Despite this chilling testimony, Pruitt was convicted only of misdemeanor battery. Since that day in 1981, Aida's bank accounts and credit cards have never been used. She never contacted her family, who say it was completely out of character for her to disappear. Aida worked as a secretary at a brokerage firm in Atlanta and had no known reason to run away. Authorities strongly believe foul play is involved, but no arrests have ever been made in connection to her disappearance, and this case remains unsolved.